Cool.
So hi everyone. Um, I decided to do a Google Hangout to talk about women of color and their college experiences as part of my diversity and equity course in higher education. So my name is Mercedes Terrazas, and I am conducting this focus group as part of the diversity and equity course that I'm taking. So I have two women here, two women of color, that they'll be introducing themselves and talking a little bit about like their experiences in college, and also giving recommendations for how like faculty and administrators can help students of color thrive in these spaces. So I'm going to give them an opportunity to talk a little bit, give a little background, their name, the university that they attend, their grade level, and anything else that they would like to share before we start asking the questions.
Okay. You could go first, Mercedes.
Oh, I could go first?
Yes. Or I
Okay.
mean, the girl. Yeah.
Jasmine.
Okay, hi everyone. My name is Cindy Gutierrez. I am a junior at California State University, Northridge. My major is communication studies and my minor is Spanish language. I am a Latina and daughter of Mexican immigrants.
Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jasmine Oden. I attend University of Delaware. I am a transfer student. I just transferred there this semester. This is my third year, and yes, I'm excited. Oh, my major is human services with a concentration in family policy and administration. So I'm happy to be
Say it
here.
again. Sorry, what was your major again?
Yes, it's human services with a concentration in family policy and administration.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here.
Okay. Thank you for introducing yourselves. The first question that I have for both of you is, how would you describe the campus culture, the campus climate of your institution? Meaning, do you feel like there's certain traditions and norms? And you could just talk about like if you feel welcome, do you feel like you fit in those spaces?
Jasmine, do you want to go ahead and start since I started last time?
Um, Again, this is my first semester here at UD, so I mean, based on what I've experienced, I just feel that, I mean, again, I am the minority there. I believe there's like 23K of other races, and out of that number, there's only like 850 black students there. So again, I'm the minority there, and it kind of, like looking around, going to my classes, and just seeing even the numbers there. I have lecture halls that are like 300 people, but like there's like on average like four blacks in the classroom. So again, that instant feel is just you feel like you are like, okay, where's all my people at? It's just not, it's not really broad as far as as far as race. But I mean, to be honest, I feel like it's kind of hard to fit in, I would say, because people already have certain like expectations of what they think about blacks based on what they see in the media. So I usually get like stares here and there sometimes. But again, you have those other races of people that do like look at you in the eyes and make you feel comfortable. But I mean, it's pretty like, I'm still adjusting, to be honest. Hmm.
Okay. So my experience is a little bit different than Jasmine's. I go to a university that has, I think, maybe about 43,000 students, and more than half of them, I'd say, are Latino, Hispanic, and the rest of the students represent countries all over the world. There's a big population of international students. There's just a lot of ethnicities there. So I would, in my experience, in my perspective, it's a very, very welcoming university. Every culture is present there in a classroom setting. I would say there are more minority than there are white. in there in my classroom settings. So it's, yeah, definitely very comforting for me, because I am interacting with people of different ethnicities, different cultures, not just one specific race, right? Yeah.
Right. Thanks for sharing. I think it's interesting how both of you have two different experiences in your college campus, and I would say just to little chime in a little bit. My experience was I really liked my undergraduate institution, but it wasn't really diverse. Just like Jasmine was saying, I felt kind of like not included in all the spaces that I wanted to be included in. Even though they had cultural centers and they had a lot of activities for students of color, there were times where I felt like, where's the Latinos at? Where's everybody else at? And why are they not included in these spaces? So I completely understand what Jasmine is talking about, but I also appreciate the fact that, Cindy, that you don't have to experience that, and which is just
Yeah, and I'm definitely very grateful for that. I'm sure it's definitely tough to adjust and to just feel welcome in a university that has that type of setting.
right. We're going to move on to the next question. I want you to reflect on your college experience so far. Would you say that you feel like there's people that could actually help you navigate those spaces? Is there specific faculty that you could think of, organizations that you could think of that have actually helped you? Depending on, as we shared right now, there might be times that you feel like you're not included in these spaces, or you do feel included. So what are those external factors that are helping you with that?
Okay, so my university, like I said, it's very diverse, extremely diverse. So there are lots of groups on campus, and there are, I would say, in my perspective, there are a lot of resources that are available to students, depending on what ethnicity you're from, what country you're from. So yeah, I mean, it's just a very, very, I feel like I belong in my university, and it just has a lot of resources that push you to complete that degree. There's, groups for Hispanics, Latinos, there's groups for Asians. The Greek community at my university is, catered for people from all types of backgrounds. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yes. One thing about University of Delaware, because it's a massive school, they have like unlimited like clubs and organizations that you can still, pretty much like be a part of. With Minds, there is a good knit of people that I can reach out to, and I've been, putting myself in the spiritual life department. There's like a good 35 different types of like religion and just spiritual life type organizations to get involved in. And with one, I've been, really connected with IntraVarsity that we have here. It's a big, it's like the biggest Christian organization. But like within that, there's been people who I've, people who are, who I can reach out to and like actually get to know, and nice people, they really are. But and there's also like one staff person. He actually helped me get into University of Delaware. He's like been a huge help to me because he's a alumni there. So like there's those type of support system for my part. Mm-hmm.
Okay, thanks for sharing. I think that's very important that you shared that, there's mentors, there's faculty that could actually help you and support you in these spaces, and there's definitely a lot of literature and research that shows that having a mentor and like role models really help you thrive in post-secondary education, especially for students of color. So I appreciate you sharing that piece.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm going to the next question, which is, what are some of the challenges your institution faces in creating a greater sense of belonging and inclusion for all students?
Can you say that one more time?
Yeah,
Sorry.
I'm sorry. Do you mind repeating it one more time?
Oh, yeah, it's fine. What are some of the challenges your institution faces in creating a better sense of belonging and inclusion for all students?
For one thing, I just feel like my institution doesn't like relate to, I mean, because I'm black, you know, African American. I feel like they don't know how to like come up to us, approach us, and see what we actually want. I think there's just a disconnection with, I don't know, you know, my university getting to actually understand my culture. So that's how I can answer that. Hmm.
Yeah, so this is a very tough question for me because I mean my university is in LA, and like I said, there are many ethnicities here. But I would say that my university might lack a diverseness in faculty and staff. I would say that professors, it would be nice to have professors of color, people of color to, I guess, relate with their students and just approach them and just make students feel a lot more comfortable in a class setting or just in general on campus.
Um, yeah, I would definitely agree. I think that even for my institution too, when I was in undergrad, I feel like there wasn't really any faculty of color. So
Hmm.
I appreciate a lot of the faculty that I got to know and really helped me, mentor me, and kind of help me navigate the spaces that I was in. But I definitely saw a lack of diversity the education institution, and people that would come into the institution, the students of color, they didn't know that that was going to be the case because people do very good job of like advertising and making it seem like there's diversity when sometimes there really isn't. So okay, I really appreciate both of you sharing. And remember, if there's any specific like examples that you have, you make sure you could bring those up. And if there's any questions that you have for me after I ask you the questions, feel free to ask. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I have another question. What can colleges and university president, administrators, and faculty and educators do to increase access, diversity, and equity on college campuses for students of color, for students that are have been underserved and underrepresented in these spaces?
Hmm.
I would say that having an opening courses that maybe cover the history of underrepresented ethnicities or yeah, just having groups on campus that inform people about history that's not really heard of or not really learned about. I think the courses, opening those type of courses would be great, and I feel like that would just join, the CSUN community together, and make everybody feel welcome and make everybody's ethnicity feel valuable, right?
Hmm. For
Can you say
mine,
the last part? Sorry, I didn't really hear your last part. Um,
Oh, I said that. Yeah, so the courses would, allow courses on history would allow ethnicities of all types to just feel welcome and feel united and feel like they're valuable.
okay, thank you.
yes. For mine, I probably would say for my campus to have like more um, sessions, such as like panel type of events, having like different types of like races from each category to share like their family customs, just different type of things for like for other races to learn about each different cultures. And so because I know like UD is starting to do this new thing where they're starting to have that just different panel discussions and events for people to all types of people to come and learn about like a different race, a different
Right.
culture. So
I
maybe
agree.
yeah, open discussions.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think that a lot of the concerns that students are having that are coming up now, especially in the media, of student unrest and the demands that they're having right now, not that they didn't have that back in history or decades ago, but these are becoming more prevalent now. And I think it's because the institutions are not really listening to what the students need or how to actually foster like an inclusive environment, and I think that's where they're lacking. So they're trying to just stop students from like protesting because it's going to get in the media and something's going to happen, and it's going to ruin their reputation. I think that that's, but I think that they need to start thinking about it in a different way. Like, okay, obviously this institution is not really diverse as we thought it was. We're not meeting the needs of the students, so it's time for us to do something different. But I think people are just used to doing things the same. And they think that that's just going to work for everybody, but that's actually not going to happen. So, yeah, it's something definitely that I've been like researching about and reading about, and I think that's very important for institutions to change their mindset and start trying to like foster inclusive environments.
Absolutely. I completely agree with you.
Yeah. So thanks for sharing. I really appreciate that. So I have more questions. um, so this question is more of like right now, knowing what you know now and like what institutions should actually be doing to help students and foster inclusive environments, increase diversity. What, like, if you were talking to a prospective student that's going to come to your university and they're first year students, and it could be from a unrepresentative group, it could be a woman that you're talking to, a student of color, a student that from a low socioeconomic status, as a first-generation student, what would you share with that person about successfully navigating the college space in your campus?
From my perspective, I would probably tell the student to really make sure they don't hang out with their race, with their type of of course, because I know with students they try to do anything to make sure they're in that comfort zone. Just hanging out with the same type of students that they usually hang out with, like in high school. How everyone has cliques, but like for college, it's a whole new level. I would tell that person to really just try to broaden your horizons on getting involved in different like type organizations and like attend certain things that you wouldn't think to attend. Trying to think of an example. My school has this thing called International Conversations, and it's pretty much like all Asians, a few people, a few like Muslims as well, Indians, and it's pretty much just like they have dinner in the first hour, and then the last hour they have like just time to just talk, and really it's just based on like for the internationals to learn how to talk or learn how to like have a conversation with an American student so they can practice their language and all. So I mean stuff like that, you can just attend just different things. So I would really just really like tell the person like make sure you like really touch you get make sure you like get involved with like different clubs and organizations so that you can like kind of broaden your horizon on things and not just stick with the same old same.
Yeah, and to add what Jasmine just said, I would encourage the same to reach out groups that cater not just to your ethnicity, but to different cultures, different ethnicities. For example, if you are, for example, me, I'm a Latina, join an Armenian group, learn about the Armenian genocide, know about their culture, just interact with them, and I think that's what makes the university one. I think that's what unites everybody. I would also tell this new student to never ever feel like they are not enough, regardless of what institution they're in, regardless of what class they're in, who's their professor, what type of classmates they have, to never feel like they are anything less than only because they are a minority, to always recognize your worth and just remember why you're in school and what you're so passionate about, why you're studying what you are studying, and just give it your all. Don't ever feel like you're less than just because of your background or your economic situation. Yeah.
Thank you. I completely agree. I think that we need to start coming together and learning about each other's cultures and ethnicities and what things actually people enjoy, and we should definitely try to talk to each other more I think we make a lot of assumptions like these people are this way, or you know what I mean.
Right.
So we make a lot of assumptions about people without actually getting to know them about things we've seen, like we were saying, like things we see in the media or the stereotypes that we have. So we need to understand that we do have biases, but it's time for us to come together. And I think the space that will really do that is college, because you're not only learning about yourself and growing based on your identity and your experiences, but you want to learn, and you should want to learn about other people and what they value in their culture. But I think sometimes there's a disconnect there. We want to like Jasmine was saying, we just want to hang out with the same people and don't challenge our views, because that's going to make us uncomfortable and we shouldn't do that. But I think we need to start changing that.
And like you said, college is the place to do this. It really is. College is the opportunity. That's where it's at.
Yeah. Based on something you said, Cindy, it made me think about the sense of stereotype threat, and also feeling like, if people think that I just shouldn't be here, or this is not the space for me, then maybe you start changing your mind about maybe they're right. Like maybe I'm not smart enough, or maybe I can't navigate this institution because I don't have the tools or the resources that everybody else has, or I'm a first generation college student, so how am I going to do that? So that just made me think about that aspect, and also just the feeling of not fitting in. I think that happens to a lot of people, and we don't really talk about it. So in college is definitely the space to talk to your peers about those feelings and how to navigate through that. But I would definitely think that that would be something that I would tell like a first year student myself as well.
Yeah.
And you're gonna have those feelings.
Yeah.
Those feelings will come up not only in undergrad, but in grad school. I think about that sometimes too. So I think that that's something. I'm not gonna lie. Like I think sometimes I'm like, I don't know, Mercedes. Like I think you're trying to do too much today.
And sometimes, it ultimately affects how you do in a class setting, because sometimes you feel intimidated to even raise your hand and make a comment or ask a question, because you just don't feel like your question is good enough, or what you're going to say is good enough, because the people around you just make you kind of feel uncomfortable.
I just did an interview with a lady, because she goes to my church, and I selected her to be my project on, because she's she's from Lebanon. But anyway, a question was based on what you just said, Mercedes, because I asked her, like, is there a reason why? I forgot what the question was, but to fast forward it, we were just talking about how, like, schools in America, like, I feel like the whole participation thing, people don't. It's like a huge lack. A lot of people don't like to raise their hands and share their own opinion, because just like we used to in our cities, people are scared to like, if it's going to be wrong, if they're going to look stupid or whatever, saying it. But again, because that's one thing that I've observed at being at UD. A lot of people do not like to share their thoughts on things. Teachers will just wait to hear, to see if a hand is raised. But it's definitely a lack at UD. People are really scared to share their thoughts on things. But it's a big thing at UD. Next question.
Yeah, I think that because for my equity and diversity course, we're actually reading a book on student engagement in higher education, and then it talks about like how to get students involved and engaged in these academic spaces. And sometimes a lot of the faculty, and most of the faculty are predominantly white, so they think that if you raise your hand, then you're being engaged and you understand the material. But if you don't do that, then and you don't show any form of like the traditional way of being engaged by like nodding your head or asking questions, then you're not being engaged and you don't understand the material. But I think they need to start changing that, because there's some students that are more introverted, so they need to find other ways to engage them in the classroom, that it's not about always raising their hand, because sometimes they might not feel comfortable, but they understand the material. They might have questions, but they might be able to ask these questions in small group sessions instead of like in the larger group that they might feel intimidated in.
Right.
You said it right.
And I mean, personally, my first language was Spanish. So sometimes I remember, growing up when I was in elementary, middle school, not so much in university anymore because I've, become a little bit more confident. But when I was in elementary school, I would sometimes wonder, like, am I saying the sentence right? Does this even make sense? Because my first language wasn't English. So I would just, I think it would prevent, it would, what's the word? Like, it would just not allow me to raise my hand and make those comments in class just because I would fear that what I was saying made no sense.
Hmm. Mhm.
Yeah, I completely can relate to that. I also, my first language was Spanish too. So I was in bilingual class for like, I don't know, I think until like third grade. But I already knew English, but it's just that my parents wanted me to just
Yeah.
also have like remember Spanish and like
Yeah.
understand it. So at times I felt like, oh, maybe I'm not pronouncing something correctly, and then you start questioning yourself, your intelligence should be in these spaces. So I think
Exactly.
that sometimes that's something that educators should definitely think about when they're talking to students, when they're trying to get students engaged, especially in college and the years after that as well.
Right.
So I have more questions. um, so, what suggestions do you have for improving the racial climate on campuses, especially like your campus? If you have had a say, like if you today were not a student anymore, that you were an educator and administrator, and your job was to change the campus culture, or to even figure out what the culture is because maybe you've been so far removed from the institution because you graduated already. How would you go about doing that? What would be some suggestions and like recommendations to improve, to better serve students, to better support them, and improve the academic environment for them?
Hmm. For me, I just had a quick thought I want to share before it goes away. Um, I feel like there's so many things you can really do. I mean, I know it's a lot of responsibility for the staff at different universities, but one thing that popped up that I used to do in my old college before I transferred to UD was hosting international students. Um,
Yeah.
that's I know because I know Wesley College, which is my old college in Delaware. The school was connected to a Japanese college. It was called Miyagi College, and they had 10 students every year. They would come over to our college, and they would stay for like 10 days. And there was like applications that were given out to see if any student on the campus wanted to host and take care of them, like just guide them and take them to different places off campus so they can get that American experience. But
Mhm.
that's one thing that I did, and that was pretty awesome. That was when I actually got to know like a lot about the Japanese culture and stuff like that. But I would just like if I was a staff at UD, I would like do those type of events, like have students on campus host different culture like type of students, so they can actually like do a lot of firsthand type of things with them instead of just like anything kind of like distant where you're just like talking and I mean which was yeah, more just have more like hosting type events for students to actually get to know somebody instead of just like a distant type relationship. 'Cause I still talk to the girl. It's been 4 years, and I still talk to my host student that I took care of and all. So that's like I think stuff like that is pretty interesting. Hmm.
Yeah, Jasmine, I think you made a very good point. My say on this is somewhat similar.
Hmm.
I would probably, as a president or as a faculty member, I would do my best to promote studying abroad or a student exchange, just because I feel like that experience is just so crucial because it gives you an insight on not just your life, not just on your culture, not just on you, but just on the world. That's just phenomenal. And yeah,
Hmm.
I would promote the studying abroad program. If possible, I would make it a requirement for students to do that because I just think it's just so important. Also, like you said, host guest speakers from different countries, different universities from around not just this nation but around the world that can come and talk about a certain issue, anything, whether whatever topic. But I think it's really important to have diversity, diversity period.
Hmm. Another thing I want to add, there was also a program where, of course, because I used to be a study abroad student, but like for Wesley, the incoming study abroad or international students, they would pretty much like tell the students that they wanted to live with an actual person on campus or
Mhm.
live in a international house. But just like what Mercedes was saying, like maybe make it a requirement for like I don't know, the upper class student to be open to like have a international student live with them,
Yeah.
for the semester. So stuff like that. Hmm.
Yeah, I think that it's very important to not only learn about diversity and different groups, racially and ethnically, in the classroom, based on like books, and really learn about ethnic studies, really, which that's not really taught in a
Yeah.
lot of campuses. I think that's definitely important because the students need to understand their own culture and as they're developing, but also they should be able to learn about other people, which definitely would be studying abroad, going to different countries. So parallel the classroom learning and the knowledge that they're getting there with actual real life experiences and talking to people. I think that's important. I would also think that it's important to have racially competent educators.
Hmm.
I think that we're definitely lacking that in post-secondary education and higher education, where there's people that educators, professors that don't really know how to even interact with students and talk about race, about equity, about diversity. They just don't know how to do it. So then, like a racial issue happens on campus or in the classroom, and they have no idea how to address it. They sometimes might not even talk about it or avoid that's the issue. And I think that prevents for that actually makes the campus culture more hostile for certain students, and they might not feel like they belong in space because nobody's addressing the issues and they don't feel supported. So I think, and also I would also say for me, it'd be like there has to be some type of like diversity requirement for students when they come into college, because sometimes they have no idea about their own privilege, about race relations. They come into school like, oh, like I didn't know I was privileged. Like I'm like, come on now. But that happens. That does happen, and it
Right.
also happens. That continues for grad school as well. Like you might be surprised that that's the situation. So I would also say the campus has to really be supporting the fact that they want to not only have diverse student populations, but
Mhm.
faculty as well. And also they need to do their best to have people feel included and welcome in these spaces, because if they don't feel included, it doesn't matter how much you increase access. You're not going to be able to retain these students. These students are going to want to leave.
Yeah, I actually wanted to add on to that. I think as an incoming freshman or as an incoming transfer student, I think it's also really important to take a course that covers just like you said, ethnicity and diversity. Because, for example, if somebody hears someone speaking Spanish, they're going to immediately assume they're Mexican. I think that's really important to address that there are 20, 21, 22 countries in the world that speak Spanish. That student's probably not Mexican. It might be, might not be. Um, right. So I think it's just important to just know the difference between and how to just talk. What's the word? Um, just talk in a way that is welcoming for everybody and includes everybody as well, not just make an assumption that every Spanish speaker is Mexican, or just vice versa. It works the same way for other ethnicities as well.
Hmm. Yeah, I think I know we're kind of extending this question, this answer, but like there's a lot of people that are like Spanish and are dark like me, but are
Hmm.
Dominican.
Right.
And people get, there's a lot of people that get offended, the whole Dominican and black type of, thing. I mean, that's the reason why people really need to know like the background information, like the history. And again, I get frustrated sometimes where people are not like just educated, for the basic things, just like what Mercedes was saying. People need to know different types of Black people, different types of
Yeah.
Spanish people, and vice versa. Even the Asian people. I mean, there's like a big. There's Japanese, there's Korean, Chinese. I mean, the list goes on. Filipino. People need to know like the different types of race.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, I completely agree. So that's all the questions that I have. Let me know if you have any question that you would want to ask me in terms of like this focus group, what happens next with this focus group, or anything of that nature, or another question that was brought up in what I said or what we've been talking about.
Hmm.
So, are you like you going to just are you just going to like use all these answers that different perspectives that we've shared? Are you going to make it into like a PowerPoint or an essay? What are you going to do with this
Um,
information?
well, I'm supposed to have like write a final paper. Is very short, just to talk about like what I've heard in the focus group that we just had, some of the recommendations that maybe you mentioned and that I also included in here, to what educators and faculty and administrators should do to increase the campus culture, um, for students of color, for women of color. And then I would just mention a little bit of our presentation in our focus group in class. They might only be able to see like a clip. The they're not gonna really watch it all. They just could see a clip of something that maybe stood out that I wanted to share. But that's it. I wanted to do a focus group, and as part of the class to actually not only help me write the final paper that I have to do, which is very, very short. It's kind of more of a reflection, but also help me with my understanding of what women experience in college campuses, what educators could do to improve the campus culture, because I'm graduating in a month, and I'm gonna be
Right.
an administrator or an educator. I'm gonna be able to change that.
Right.
So I would want to know from students right now that are in undergrad about how I could do that. And I think that you both definitely have helped me increase my understanding of what I could do to improve campus culture for different students and how I can make it a more inclusive environment.
Oh,
So now,
nice.
Mercedes, here's my question to you. As you are a master's student, correct, or
Yes.
doctoral student? Oh, master's. Okay, as a master's student who is studying, or who wants to be an administrator, what would you do if, you say you are a principal at a university, or what would you do to improve, this climate at a university to make everybody feel welcome, incoming freshmen, transfer students? I don't know if that's just maybe you're still learning, or maybe you're still thinking about what you would want to do, and that's probably the purpose of this interview. But I'm just curious as to what you would want to do.
For me, I think it would depend on my role, but I would want to work at a university because I'm doing like interviews now. But I would want to work at a university that cares about not only diversity, but including every student in all the academic spaces. Not only having culture centers, but actually that students feel welcome and included in the readings that they do, that they feel like their voice is being heard. So if something's going on, that they feel supported. And if they don't feel supported, then I don't want to be in those spaces, because as a woman of color, if you're not supporting students of color, I don't think you're going to support me. So for me, I would want to understand what experiences students have had in that institution, how I can make it better, because I have my own views, but it's different than maybe the needs of what students
Right.
have. So I think that I would make it known that I'm there to support them, and help them in whatever way I can by not only talking to the president, the provost, any way that we can to have more students from different places come and talk to different students. There should be guest speakers. There should be money and centers and organizations available for students of color to feel included. I think it should be a welcoming space for everybody. And if students feel the need to protest because they want something to change, then as administrators, I think, or even a professor, because that's something that I want to be a professor in the future, I would want to be an ally and support students. I want to be there to help them navigate those spaces, especially if they're like the first. So yeah, that's what I would do. Just basically try to figure out how I could help the student, because I have my own idea, but I could do so many things, and they could be like, that's not what we really wanted you to do. So I could not be helpful to them, but I could be helpful to other people. But it really depends on the students that I'm talking to and what they need at the moment.
Awesome.
I have a final question.
Okay.
It's kind of like two parts. I was just curious with you, what you went to school for your undergraduate, and then the second part of that, I'm trying to finish school and become a guidance counselor. So, what type of advice would you give for me for a future guidance counselor?
Okay. I graduated from DePaul University in Chicago, Illinois. And my major was psychology with the focus in human services. So,
okay.
Yeah, I know. So, and I minored in community service. I was really big on community service and service learning. I still am today, but I was more in undergrad because I had more time. What I would say is you have to build a relationship with your students. If you're going to be a guidance counselor, let's say an advisor also, you have to be able to build a relationship. You have to be able to talk to students and find out what they need and how you could be a resource to them.
Mm-hmm.
Because not all the students are going to be the same. Not everybody, you might want them to go to college, but let's say you're a high school counselor, right? And you might want them to go to college, but at that moment in time, they might have to help their family, and college might be what they do next year. Or they might want to go to a community college, and you want them to go, obviously, to the best schools and universities, but they might need to stay nearby because they're helping their family. So a community college is what's going to work for them, and then they can transfer to another institution. I feel like we have our own agenda and our own way that we want to help students, but we also need to listen to that, because you would want somebody to listen to you. So I would start thinking about it in the sense of like, what if I were them, if I was that student, what would I need? And then that might not be exactly what they're gonna say, but I think that you should start there and building a relationship, because students want to see that you care and that you're a part of their life, that you want to be a mentor and a resource. And if they feel like you're seeing them like a number, because let's say you see like 40 students, right? And if they think that you don't remember anything about them, like if you don't remember that they're really interested in engineering, it might be hard to do that, but I think that you could write it down, make note of the meetings that you have with students, and sooner or later you'll be able to bring something up, and they'll know that you care.
Yeah, Mercedes, and I know you, towards the beginning of this interview, you did mention how having a mentor is very, very important. And I mean, I just wanted to emphasize how helpful it is to have a mentor, whether you're in middle school, high school, wherever you are, who sees something in you. I think that just changes everything completely, to have somebody by your side just who sees something in you. It's just phenomenal. It really changes your life. It changes what you're capable of, and yeah.
I think it's funny that my old major was psychology, and I transferred over to human services. I thought that was pretty interesting. Same.
Yeah, that, like I said, those things would change. Like you could come into college thinking that you're gonna be, I don't know, major in natural sciences, and then you realize that that's not even what you want to do. That you thought you liked that, but you really don't. That could definitely happen, and I think that that's something that we need to keep in mind when we're talking to students in different capacities. But I wanted to thank you guys for being so patient with me, for this whole troubleshooting, for being able to be in this focus group. I really appreciate it because this is taking time from your day to talk to me, and it would definitely help me and give me insight as a future higher education professional that I'm trying to be. So you're definitely helping out. And I also want you to know that, like, if you have any questions about anything and I can help you in any way, to reach out to me, you could email me. I even send you my phone number and the email, so you could even text me. And I would definitely try to be of resource to you in any way that I can.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much, and I'm glad to be of some help. And again, congratulations in a month in advance for graduating and just being the first, probably in your family, and just being a inspiration for all other minority women. Keep going.
Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And Mercedes, you can always email me too. If you have any
Sounds
questions.
good.
Mm-hmm.
And then you both will also have access to view this at a later time if you want to view it again. But definitely thank you. I don't have any more questions. I think that this focus group was definitely important, and it was a good conversation to have, because I feel like a lot of people don't understand that there's a lot of struggles that as women and women of color we have in post-secondary education and like higher education, and I don't think we talk about it enough.
Mm-hmm.
And it's important to see that this is a reality, and it's not only affecting you. Like, these are struggles that we might have in different spaces, and there's things that my experience that are the same, and things that might be different.
Absolutely.
It was nice meeting you too, Cindy.
Oh, thank you. Likewise. I'm sorry. I thought you were talking to Mercedes for a while. Nice meeting you, Jasmine.
But yeah, thank you very much. I'm not going to take any more of your time. I got to go write down some of the insights that I heard from both of you. So thank you very much for your time.
Awesome. Okay.
All right. See ya.
Bye.
Yeah.
Bye.